Hello, everyone. Let me begin by asking you two questions. And these are the two ripples that I want to leave you with. The first question: who are you? And the second question: who are you when no one is watching? The first question: the first question is a difficult question. It's a question that was asked by philosophers, theologians, and a lot of great people in the past. Are you someone who is defined by your likes and dislikes? Are you someone who is defined by your actions? Are you someone who follows your heart? Or are you someone whom your parents or society wants you to be? Now, let us take the example of this room here today. There are 100 people in this room. That is 100 hearts, 100 dreams, and 100 unique lives. So, to answer this question, who are you? There are basically 100 different answers. The second question: who are you when no one is watching? This is an important question, especially in today's age. Let me explain. Consider a classroom setup where there is a lot of children and there is no teachers. Clearly, this is a natural habitat of a child. So, students will be running around, some of you will be sitting on desks, some of you will be talking, some of you will be playing book cricket, and so on. Now, suddenly the teacher appears. What happens? There will be silence. Some of you will be rushing to the seats. Some of you will get up and say, "Good morning, teacher," and so on. But basically, suddenly all these students have become these goody goody children. Now, the point is this: when we are being observed or watched, we tend to behave differently. This can either be through our movements, through our physical movements, or through our thoughts and actions. The second part is important, especially in today's digital age. All around us, there are these social media platforms, each running its own algorithm, and each of them very keen to know who we are, what we are going to do next, what are our likes and dislikes, where are we right now. And even more concerning is the fact that in today's age of algorithms, likes, shares, subscribes, and WhatsApp statuses, or hearts and tweets, one person's behavior can greatly influence other people's behavior, thoughts, and actions. So, this is the point. As a person who is constantly watching these social media platforms, in this age of and constantly seeing these likes and subscribes, are you losing yourself or are you discovering yourself? So now that I have asked you these two questions, let us take a step back and see where we are in our lives. So I'm an engineer, so I like to draw plots and graphs. So this is a timeline of our lives. We are all born at some point, and we will all die at some point. And it is this time in between what we call life. And most of you who are gathered here today are in this age between 16 and 18. And I believe that it is this age and the few years after this that are the most formative and important years in your lives. So, this quote by J.R.R. Tolkien has always been with me. All we have to decide is what to do with the time that is given to us. So, these questions that I have asked you earlier today has been with me for some time. But to understand my questions and my thought processes, you got to know a little bit more about me. So, this is going to be a little bit of my story. And my story has been greatly influenced with the places where I have lived in. So, this is a map of the world, again, a very big picture, right? I was in Abu Dhabi first, then I moved to Toronto in Canada, and now I'm here back in Kerala. So Abu Dhabi is where I grew up in. And like a lot of you, I was very fortunate to have a very loving set of parents, great set of teachers, a safe environment, and a wonderful childhood. Now, all this is when I look back, but growing up as a child, this age that you're going through is definitely not easy. 10th standard exams are hard. You have a lot of activities to do. 12th standard exams are not hard, and so on. But when I look back, I realize that I was relatively good at studies. And like a lot of you, I spend my time with movies, watching movies, cartoons, TV, playing with friends, playing sports, and so on. But I never really asked myself the big questions that I have asked you today. I mostly just went with the flow. I was good in science, so I took up science stream, and then I ended up taking engineering. But there was this thought that my father had about studying abroad. And for that, and for all the people who have supported me, I am forever grateful. So that is how I ended up in Toronto. And this is a place where I started asking myself difficult questions. But to understand these questions and to understand my thought processes, you got to understand what was the circumstances or what was the environment that I gone through during that time. So I was in Toronto from the age of about 18 to about the age of 29 years. And these were some of the circumstances that I had. So first of all, I was living alone and I was away from home. I had to meet new people, make new friends. I had to deal with my emotions. I had to finish my undergraduate studies with a completely new set of people. Why did this happen? Because after third year, there is this provision for students to go to do internship, and most of my friends went ahead and did that. But I moved on to my fourth year, and I was in class with a completely new set of people who were my seniors who had just got back from their internship. So that was a little difficult. And then, of course, there were the master's and the Ph.D. program, where I spent a lot of hours in the labs. Things were not working, simulations not working, experimental setups, and that was that. There were more practical things that I had to deal with. That is, I had to shift apartments, find new places to live, and things like that. Then I also had to deal with my friends moving away. Most of my friends graduated and went on to work in different cities. After some time, some friends are getting married and moving on to newer places. So all these were the circumstances that I had to face when I was in Toronto. Now during this time, I had to ask myself certain questions at different points in time. So for example, in third year of our electrical engineering, I had to choose which tracks to go to, or which fields of specialization of electrical engineering I had to go to. So for that, I need to know what my likes and dislikes were. What courses did I like? What did I not like? After my master's program, I had this doubt whether should I continue engineering further. There were existential questions. Like I said earlier, when you are living alone, you had to deal with emotions like sadness, loneliness. You ask deeper questions. Is there God? And there were practical questions, like how do I manage my finances? I was lucky enough to lucky enough to do my master's and PhD under a scholarship program, so I had to maintain my own finances. Then there were other questions, career-oriented questions. Should I come back to India? What job gives me satisfaction? These are all questions that I had to ask myself. So what did I discover in this process? What I discovered was I wanted to leave this world a better place than I came in. So let me explain this to you in what I call the circle of goodness. So imagine the circle, and inside the circle is all the goodness in this world today. And what I hope is my contribution is a small little bump on the circumference of circle. It is exaggerated here, but it's a small bump. Now imagine if all of us are going to do this. What will eventually happen? Eventually, the circle will become larger. So what does that mean? That means that there is more goodness in this world now than there was before. So when I realized this, I came across this quote by Edward Everett Hale. I am only one, but I am one. I cannot do everything, but I can do something. And I will not let what I cannot do interfere with what I can do. So what did I discover? And how can I make this small little bump in the circle of goodness? First thing that I discovered was I had to stop distractions, both in the physical world and the digital world. So sometime along my undergraduate studies, I realized that I was getting addicted to Facebook. And I was getting more sadder seeing all these videos. So I decided I don't want to be sad. So I deleted my Facebook account. And since then, I have not had any social media accounts. The second thing is having core values. This is extremely important. These serve as a guiding light to me, even today, when I take decisions. The third and another important one is staying curious. This is very important if you want to discover yourself. I have a habit of saying yes to a lot of things. And what I eventually discover is I meet new people and I learn a little bit more about myself when I go through that experience. And probably the last and most important one is action. I am an engineer, so I realize that it is not only important to have all these fantastic ideas and thoughts, but if you can't translate that into something meaningful to the society or something tangible to the people around us, all these thoughts and ideas are pointless. Now, it's very easy to say all of this, but it is something that we must think and do day in and day out. But like they say, at the end of the tunnel, there is always going to be a light. And this quote by Nelson Mandela is very uplifting. Remember, the greatest glory in living lies not in never falling, but in rising every time we fall. So while I conclude, I would like to remind you that this is my story, my thoughts, and my questions. I leave you with the two questions that I asked earlier today. Who are you? And who are you when no one is watching? I hope you find meaningful answers to this question. I will also leave you with the third question. What is going to be your signature when you leave this world? Thank you.